The other two types of context we're going to look at are big C and little c context. So big C considers big picture. So looking at the long-term causes and large regional geographic context of an event, where little c focuses more on the direct event, the short-term immediate causes, and the local geography. So here is a graphic to kind of help you visualize that. So if the event's taking place here, so in our example, it's going to be the lunchroom fight. Little c would be what happened immediately leading up to the fight. Where did it specifically happen? And then the bigger C would take a look at the context of the fight in the big picture. So what was going on in the lives of the different boys, what's going on in the town, what's going on at school in general, that would be in our big C. So each of these factors contributes to the event that takes place. That's why it's there in the center. When we're going through and doing our close reading of a source and trying to determine the big C and little c context, there are a few questions that we can ask ourselves as we're reading through that. So one of those questions is, what is the time period? What were the characteristics of that time period? So again, like I said earlier with the Civil War example, what was going on during this time period? So obviously slavery was still around, and there's going to be different beliefs and opinions that were going around at that time that people don't have today. The second question is, what happened in the years leading up to the event? So if we're looking at the start of the Civil War, what were some of the big factors that led to this fight happening in the first place? And that's something that we're going to take a look at in a future unit. What world events led to it? So this helps us to consider a bigger picture of what's going on instead of just a small localized region. And then lastly, which countries and regions of the world were involved and why? So we'll be doing this when we're taking a look at World War I and World War II. There's countries from all over the globe who are part of that conflict, and we need to figure out why they're involved. And then when we're looking at little c, we're going to be focusing on more on the direct event itself. So which dates did it happen on? So what time did the Civil War start? That's something we would be asking ourselves if we're considering this. What happened in the days and months leading up to the event? So the firing at Fort Sumter is the thing that triggered the Civil War, but there are obviously other events leading up to that that made it happen, but that would be our little c context of the Civil War. What local events led to it? And then lastly, which local groups, political parties, or individuals were involved? What were those people like, and why were they involved? So up here in the big C, we're looking at the regions, so the North versus the South, whereas down here, we would be focusing on the local people and the individuals themselves. So Robert E. Lee, Ulysses S. Grant, people who are involved in the war as individuals and not just looking at the big picture like we would up here.